Okay, we're taking a look at an old pub structure. This establishment unfortunately has experienced a fire event, so it's really quite the ruin at the moment. There are future plans to rebuild and repair, so in the meantime we've got to figure out the stability of the structure as it currently stands in its ruined state, what kind of make-safe measures we need, and just how safe it can be between now and construction time. So general construction is pretty common for the period. So it's a bluestone construction throughout, generally with some brick infills and inlays, so a mixture of a more contemporary red brick, which has a pretty good capacity. You see the mortar here is reasonably good. Get the old pen test out. So a good way to check mortar is to do a scratch test. Really good quick field study to see what kind of capacity you can get, roughly speaking, out of the mortar. So those bricks are pretty good. Then there's a mixture of hand bricks, which are always cool to see. So this is more of a hand-baked brick, and as you can see, you can scratch away at that, do the scratch test on the brick as well, and I'm able to make an indent in there ever so slightly. The mortar isn't that great either, but that's pretty common for the period of construction. So we've got bluestone throughout, mixture of red brick and hand brick as well, and then there's some areas where the mortar is exceptionally bad, which again is pretty common for the era of construction. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at this wall here. So reasonable height. I took some measurements earlier, and this is over 4 meters, 5 meters high. And down here you can see this is our mortar at the base. So there's a timber bearer of sorts because there was a floor. There's a timber floor here which has been burnt out. So these pockets were where joists once lived, I'd imagine. Some remnants of timber still embedded in the wall. There's a timber element here which shows what may have been present before the fire. So essentially this is the point where all the load ends up. There was a roof above, and obviously the self-weight of the wall is not trivial either. And if you look at the mortar, this is, it's basically clay. It's an exceptionally high clay content, which is pretty common, but as you can see, there's not much difference between that and that, which is the clay from the site. So I can probably take out a bunch of that, and as you can see, it's just crumbling in my hand, and as you press upon it, it just disintegrates, and that is a very clay type mortar, which can control the capacity of these older walls. So in terms of stability, we're really looking at, in terms of wind hitting this wall or a seismic event, these return walls are providing good support, so we're really looking for those. And also the connection between the two. So what's common is these walls don't generally have an articulation joint for expansion and contraction, so you generally see some cracking open up where the two walls generally meet. The return walls where they meet the longitudinal walls, and as you can see, there's some ever so slight cracking that has occurred, potentially some repatching that's occurred as well. It's all basically occurring at the joints between the bluestone segments. And then across here, actually while we're here, we can see majority of the walls have this large render build-up. A lot of that's come out as a result of the fire event. But the support this wall's providing is minimal given its length. And then we've got an impressive basement structure here. This is where the kegs would come in. Storage of the kegs down here, and timber floor over the top with timber joists. The construction of the basement appears to be, you can zoom in on that. So we've got stone elements, they look like bluestone, and then a render, concrete render, cement render throughout. So what we're standing on here is a little bit of a batter as well, where there's some stone elements that would have been dug in, and then this has all been face treated with cement render. So let's jump across the other side and have a look at this wall we're currently standing on. So as you can see, a lot of stone, with stonework there, and we've got an interesting load path here. We've got a wall which may cop some wind thrust on the outside face. This return wall supporting it using its in-plane stiffness, and all that load ends up in this area here. And as you can see, it's not very well restrained. You've got soil pressure coming on the other side of that wall. It's basically a stone mound there, and that's quite a large effective height from there to the tip. Say that's about 8 meters, roughly 7 to 8 meters. So without the floor structure in here, that unrestrained condition is a mild concern. So something we need to think about between now and the next steps of this project. Let's check these return walls. So this is the front of the pub. This is a wall which is a bit more intact, so it's basically got a render finish. You can see glimpses of the bluestone behind here. Interesting thing about this is even the render has quite a high clay content, so it does feel quite clayey at this location. Doesn't occur everywhere, but I mean, that's just basically dirt coming off the wall. It improves around here, so it becomes proper cement. Yeah, I've got some red brick behind, so that's more of a contemporary brick. Could be 50s to 70s. A hand brick. So there's a good mixed bag of construction eras, and we can see here there's quite a sizable crack just tracking up that stone joint all the way up the wall. So the restraining capability of this wall is starting to diminish due to the lack of attachment to that front wall in the perpendicular direction. It was a modification from previous. Looks like there was a smaller opening to this point. There's an old flat plate lintel sitting in there, and this opening's been enlarged. Must look at historical photos to see what this area was, whether it was delivery or main entry of sorts. Alright, so I'm going to keep taking some measurements, run some quick numbers on these walls, and then we'll see what kind of condition they're in for the next 6 to 12 months or so.